We vibe in chat. Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet an all new episode of Dan's Stream of Thought, right here on amongus.tv/streamer square. Oh, I mean twitch.tv/streamer square. Because, I don't know about y'all, but Among Us has been both good, bad, ugly, beautiful, great. Just pick an adjective and it's been that. It's been everything. It's been everywhere. It's been sometimes in certain communities nowhere. Um, it has been giving people legitimate anxiety, like full-on anxiety attacks. It has given people like full-on joy. It's just been doing so many things here on this platform. I mean, there's because of this, I was actually trying to brainstorm how do we develop a thought process around streaming and big group streams like that. The stream scene has done several group stream episodes. I think I was on one of them with Nick with Diction, and we talked a lot about how that worked. And I had kind of been putting a lot of what I talked about back into practice with all this Among Us hype and stuff like that. And I was just talking about it. I was like, hey, there's always a time, especially if you do like 8-hour streams or anything longer than 6, you start to find this little thread of like you start to search for it, I should say. This little thread of like, where's that energy thread? I need to pull it and create some havoc within my body so that I can, bring this energy back. And I think Among Us has kind of brought this weird thing to light of, well, yeah, there's a lot going on and it could be very draining, but there's so many times where you can just sit there and go, there's a bunch of things happening on screen. There's a lot of action. I don't want to put any more to it. I'm just going to sit back and relax for like 20 minutes because I was the first one to die or whatever it might be. Very easily just listen to the arguments, kind of put your comments in. It's like, oh, this would make sense if this person was talking about this. I find myself even if I do die first, even if I'm like the first one killed, being a crewmate, because I was a crewmate for 7 hours and 45 minutes last night. Was not an imposter till the last game. I won, by the way, but I was not an imposter for the last game. 7 hours and 45 minutes crewmate, nothing but crewmate. It was crazy. Um, so I would get killed first a lot because I'd be off doing tasks. And I spent a lot of that time kind of playing as the imposter. Okay, well, if I'm the imposter and I'm the person who just killed me, often it was Cletus Buford. Yeah, I'm calling you out, Cletus. You keep killing me. I thought we were cool, man. I thought we were cool. You keep killing me first, man. Um, if I was Cletus, what I would be doing now? And it's fun. It's fun getting into people's heads, and you can actually watch these things. Versus the difference of things that are like pure and raw skill. Like, yeah, you can observe people in like Apex, and you can observe people in other battle royales and stuff like that. And you can kind of get into the head of like, oh, what's the decision they're going to be making there? What's the thing they're but like a lot of that is raw skill in a lot of ways. People don't really think about strategy too often in games like that. Sometimes they do, the really high level players do, but most of the time it's like, okay, there's a guy up here, I'm gonna go kill him. So in this game, you can kind of sort of just get into the heads of your friends and be like, oh, they're gonna go do this. And then you listen to their conversation and you're like, oh, interesting. Why are they saying that? Oh, I don't know if this logic lines up. Oh, maybe they made a mistake there. And then, there's all kinds of things that happen. But the reason I'm talking about this, and the reason that it's very easy to get into a topic like this is because not only does this talk about community streaming and group streaming and streaming with people who don't even stream, like there are people out there that maybe record for YouTube and they come onto a Twitch stream and record all this stuff for what they're going to put and edit together and stuff like that. Maybe there's people that are just part of your community who've never streamed. There was somebody who we played with last night. Her name was Jessie, who was a huge fan of Mr. Pillowsuit on TikTok, and we've been playing with Mr. Pillowsuit basically every week. And she came in and and she played 3 games. She's like, I gotta go, but I just wanted to say, like, I have been following you, Mr. Pillowsuit, for like since the beginning of TikTok, and I just want to say I've been a big fan, and it's a big honor to be playing with you. I was like, this is a cool moment. We need to save this. This is a really cool moment. And then thankfully, it's like one of the only times maybe that everybody just shut up and listen. And I was like, okay, if there's one time where that happens, this is the perfect time to do it. I'm very proud of you all. Because as we can see, there's a lot of people, a lot of big personalities getting in one group together. It's going to be very hard to just listen to one person at a time. But a lot of that comes with variety streaming, and that's why we're talking about variety streaming today. Not that specifically, but there's a lot of things that come from that realm that come from the idea of I'm not going to just be known for one game, or I'm not going to do one thing and one thing only. One of the greatest quotes that I saw like lately, I forget who it is. I tried to look it up and I still couldn't figure out who it is. Maybe one of you guys can remind me. Um, there was a quote. Somebody said something. It was like it was either Co Carnage or it was Ezekiel Third, or it was one of the bigger streamers who said it's like variety streaming does not mean playing a different game every day. And I wanted to build off that. I wanted to sort of build this whole show and maybe build this discussion off of that. Because I do feel like that is sort of a definition, not necessarily given by streamers, but given to by the community as a whole, and any community for that matter. And as a variety streamer myself, and as I've always been a variety streamer, it's very easy to sort of see that within your community and sort of get frustrated by that sometimes too. Um, there's a couple things that have happened in the past with community members and saying, "Hey, how come you don't play this game anymore?" And then I sit there and I ask, it's like, well, okay, I still do play that game every now and then, but I only played that game for like maybe a month. And you're like, no, I found you on this game. This was the game that the whole reason I followed you on this, the whole reason that we did this, and this, and you were this streamer to me. You were a blank streamer, right? And I was like, I mean, I definitely appreciate that, but I only played that for like a month and then I moved on to something different. And then they're like, man, you changed. And I was like, whoa, okay, now we're getting into something crazy. And like that's an extreme version of that argument. And that's an extreme version of that comment from the community. But it's also not something that is super uncommon, I think, between just people who view your channel. So I wanted to bring in the whole search and success finding and being able to get an idea together that says, hey, I'm going to be a variety streamer, but I'm also not going to kind of put myself into a depressive hole of I'm not growing as fast as I would be if I picked one game or one topic and one thing and just stuck with that and only did that. I think a couple weeks ago we were talking with Steven and Steven Spawn, and he was talking about the fact that he mentioned something that I think we all kind of knew, but he's the one that said it out loud, which was the easiest way to grow on a platform for streaming and gaming content creation is picking one game, one community, and building that community, right? But he also followed that up with it's also the easiest way to burn out. And I wanted to kind of emphasize that point specifically. Personally, I think if you are looking to create a longevity version of yourself on the internet, you have to do a couple of things. One, but they always come from you have to branch out. And listening to a couple people that are really knowledgeable, like so like there's a few, there's a ton of people. We'll talk about them later. Kawhi guy and a couple people from staff RSS and people like that from Twitch staff have talked about this specifically a couple times, where they're trying to figure out whether it is good to branch off from something you stuck with for a long time. Like for some people, I'll name them later, like Binding of Isaac and for me, for Gungeon and for a couple other things, and get that community and then start to branch off, lose 60% of your viewership, and then just keep that 40% and just say, hey, you guys are my rock. Or is it a better idea to just create new channels all the time? And that was an interesting thought because it sounds crazy. It sounds absolutely crazy to be like, oh, you just create a new channel and then start over and try a new thing. And it's like, but at the same time, it makes sense because if you get people that only follow for one reason, then they're more than likely to come back every time you go back to that well or every time you do that one reason thing again. I believe Natty, Zombie Unicorn just created, or she created a while ago, a cooking channel. And I think that cooking channel just got partnered. And I was like, well, it makes sense because even though it's a second channel, and even though you could have totally just done the same content you did on your normal channel, if I only want to watch cooking, then I'm gonna go watch cooking on this cooking channel, right? Or if I want to just watch Zombie Unicorn, I'm gonna follow both, and I know when they're gonna be live there. But that's also like it's also like why people have Discord so that like you can put everything there. Julian Solomita has like 3 or 4 different channels going on right now, all for different reasons. Like he has his own cooking channel. He had a vlog channel for a while. I think that's what the one that turned into the cooking channel. They have a gaming channel. They have like all kinds of things. Then they have their Twitch channel that's specifically gaming. There's so many different ways to kind of do it, and it makes an interesting argument as to what variety streaming is these days. I wanted to say this topic this week was going to be defining variety streaming, but I also didn't want to I didn't want to make everybody think that we are going to get super philosophical again like we did with the word success. And then what did I do? I threw the word success in this title too. um but there's a big thing to that, and there's a couple of avenues we can go with thinking about that. Um, because yes, like as Dylan just said in chat, it sounds so daunting to start another channel from scratch like that. It does. It 100% does. And I'm not here advocating for that. I'm not here advocating that you need to do that or anything like that. But what I am talking about is it's not stupid. And I think there's been a lot of people that have been led to believe that it is just stupid to start from scratch because we're talking about demographics, right? And we've actually been seeing this in TV and television for such a long time. If you look at channels like FX or ESPN or any channel that has like a second version of their channel, it usually doesn't have to do too much with the fact that they just want to put more shows on one thing. It has a lot to do with the fact that they want to be able to focus things. So they'll have like ESPN, the Ocho, which was that big joke that happened from. We saw it in Dodgeball, but I think it became a real thing and just became a channel that was just weird sports, just super, super, super weird sports. They're like, oh, these are all the craziest dodgeball and like bunghole or whatever that cornhole, whatever that one's called. I don't know. There's all kinds of. Did I just say a bad word? I don't know. There's all kinds of weird sports that happen on there, like tag, like ultimate tag and stuff like that. And it's like, but here's the thing: if I see on my cable provider they're offering ESPN the Ocho, I know exactly what I'm gonna get. I know what I'm gonna get. It's gonna be easy. I know that I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna get exactly what I want. Same thing with like a cooking channel. Um, yes, somebody may label you when they come follow you as a cooking streamer, but that's kind of like why does that matter? I guess is the question. Does that really matter to you? And if it does, then maybe you probably want to focus on one channel. But if you don't, then what does being labeled as somebody to one other person? What does that mean? Um, I saw pizza dough throwing on the Ocho. Dude, that's what I'm talking about. I want the Ocho now, man. um, but yeah, like there's so many different ways to think about that. And again, we're not going to talk about like, oh, this is a reason to just create a second channel. I'm just saying that this is part of what variety streaming is, and I think we need to re-examine variety streaming for a bit. If you look at before we'll continue off in that, but let's go back to how we understand variety streaming already. I think one of the biggest proponents and biggest good examples of variety streaming is Carnage. I mean, he's a good example for a lot of different things. I use him a lot in almost every example that I have, basically. How to run a community, how to make sure that you have thousands and thousands of viewers in your channel and they're not toxic. Lots of things, but Carnage is one of these examples for variety streaming. Carnage plays one game pretty much, and he has two different streams, but he plays one game in each stream, plays one game until he's completely done with it. And he plays it to death. And sometimes they revisit it like months and months later, maybe even years later. But he plays it as long as he wants to, for sometimes months at a time. And then he's done. And then he moves on to something, some maybe completely different, maybe something that's similar. But he moves on to something that he feels like he's exhausted his channel on. That's one example, and that is the example at the top. I was talking to my friend Wazda um, last night about something like this. He's formerly known as Deathridge. He's changed his name to Wazda, who is his main game is Minecraft. And he plays like a few hours of Minecraft at the beginning of his stream, and then he moves on to something else. But what his biggest thing was, and his biggest argument as to what variety streaming, the pinnacle of how to take hold of that, was that looking at when a community is kind of ripe for being able to grow in. Um, he sort of he was talking to me about it. He sort of regrets doing this with like games like Anthem, but he also realized that he also grew from it too. He played Anthem for far longer after people like the general audience stopped playing and stopped streaming Anthem. And what did that do? And this is the mistake that I think a lot of streamers make, or this is the opposite. This is what he's doing, the opposite thing. But a lot of streamers see that decline in viewership, and they see this giant decline of like who's not streaming this anymore, who's not watching this, and they say, oh, it's time for me to hop off the boat. Well, if you're still trying to grow your community, one of the biggest arguments that Wazda was making to me, and the one thing that I finally kind of realized myself maybe a couple of years ago was maybe that's the time for the small guys to make a rise, and the smaller channels to be able to say, hey, there are still people who want to watch this. It's not like it was a shelf where things just went from thousands and thousands of viewers to zero. It was a small decline, right? So maybe it's time for the people that still want to be watching a specific category or game or whatever it is to go find other people, because then it turns into, well, eventually you're probably going to go away from that game too. But you were already buried in a category. So if you delete yourself from that category, then you never really gained anything. All you did was lose time, which, as we know as content creators, time is a valuable commodity. So being able to say, hey, I'm going to stick around here for a little bit. I'm enjoying myself. Which is the key to variety streaming, like always picking something that you enjoy. I enjoy myself here. I'm sitting here and saying, hey, I'm going to stick around for a little bit. And then you might see some residual people that still want to watch that category of game come actually find you because their favorite streamers aren't streaming the game anymore, right? Um, so when we talk about variety streaming, this is one aspect I think a lot of us forget. A lot of us forget about. And both sticking with the game for more than just a day, especially if you like it, and then sticking with the game for longer than maybe the hype says it should be, or longer than the hype is hot, I guess, is also putting those two things in combination may help you find a little bit more success in variety streaming if you're having a problem. Obviously, if you have your own technique, like that's please use that more. But this is something that I think is a weak spot for a lot of people that I think we're missing a lot. Now, let's take that and let's move this to, you can't see, I talk with my hands on a table a lot, so I'm actually like I'm moving things like I'm moving objects or Lego bricks on a desk. Yes, the claw. Yes, like a tiger. What, you didn't understand that? Because you don't speak tiger. Maria Bamford. Watch all of her specials. She's a genius. Um, okay. So we understood that topic. Let's reset a little bit. Tiger. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, wow, wow. Lots of games out there have big audiences with not enough streamers. Darkest Dungeon, Rim World, Euro Truck Sim to come to mind. Yes. Sims actually, and I think both Simcopter and I kind of found these very similar times. Just simulators in general have a they made a very weird insurgence into content creation. Like not super long ago, but a little bit ago with games like Farming Simulator and Construction Simulator and Flight Simulators and all these things. There's been a lot of there's a resurgence, there was not a resurgence, an insurgence into a big part of that. Believe it or not, games like Farming Simulator 17 helped grow my channel ridiculously. And I would have never found it if it wasn't for the fact that I was like, "Oh, I need to figure out what game I want to play that may be a little bit different, but maybe silly enough to where I could just sit back and chat with chat and talk about some things, and we can just, kind of shoot the stuff and just whatever." And then I started playing Farming Simulator because it was semi-popular, and I was like, "Okay, there's some categories that seem to be doing well." Watched Squirrel play it a lot. He's specifically a simulator streamer. Watched Squirrel play it a lot, and I was like, "Okay, this actually doesn't look bad." So I booted it up one day, and I just started playing it. And all of a sudden, there was just a ton of people that already watched Farming Simulator and were like, "There's not enough people who stream this game." I'm glad to be here. This is super fun. And it just started like, and then people that were already watching my channel were like, I don't know what it is about this game. I don't get it. I don't think I would ever play it myself, but it's super relaxing. And I could sit here watching this for hours. I'm like, yeah, it's like we're actually doing some real farming, right? And it just started to develop something that was a little bit special of we can sort of just sit around, have something happening on a screen, but also be able to connect with each other. Don't worry, I'll connect this to variety stream in a second. This comes from the fact that this was born from variety streaming, and simulators in general kind of create a weird variety stream sort of dynamic. But anyway, it forced me to kind of just pick something that was a little bit of attention, but also seemed like I would have a little bit of fun with it. And then it turned into, oh, I actually really liked playing that game. I spent like 10 or 12 hours the first day playing it, just mowing down fields, just harvesting crops, just fertilizing the dirt, just redoing a whole bunch of stuff, taking care of the cows and the pigs and making sure to haul off their milk to get all the money that I possibly can. I had to upgrade machinery, went from leasing a tractor to buying a truck and all kinds of stuff. And it created this crazy thing. It's like that's just the game itself, right? That's the magic of the game. But the love of that and the finding of that came from variety streaming and kind of having a plan. This is where I'm going to connect it to another conversation I was having with Wazda. Is having a plan is important for variety streaming. It doesn't mean that you need to plan out every day of your stream and say, "Hey, this is the game we're going to play today. This is the game we're going to play tomorrow." By the way, switching games every single day does become a problem. That's part of what we were talking about earlier with the variety streaming does not mean playing a different game every day. Playing this game, playing that game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But having a plan I didn't really think about this until we started talking about it. Is a mistake that I think a lot of variety streamers make, or not having a plan for that matter. If you sit there and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go hard in this game for a bit, and then you don't have to think about it right away. But if you get to like maybe a few weeks or a few days or whatever it might be in, and you're not thinking about possibly what might be coming next, you're gonna get to that part where you get to the end and you start to see maybe viewership's declining for a couple days, or maybe you're getting a little bit bored. You see your energy kind of going down. One, possibly think about taking some days off first. But two, start to think about what you're going to play next instead of what I did for a very long time, which is I would basically get to the end of a cycle of a game, which is very specific to variety streamers. Getting to the end of a cycle of a game and then saying, what should we play now, guys? And then you kind of spend 2 or 3 streams kind of just stagnant. And that as we kind of see a lot of people's streams based on momentum, that is one of the most ultimate momentum killers is finding that moment or that window of purgatory where you're like, I don't know what I'm playing right now. I don't know what I'm gonna play right now. Um, and you sit there and you're like, I need to figure this out. And you start to maybe get a little bit anxious. The anxiety starts sitting in, and you're like, I can't even think about it because I'm trying to think about it. It's like trying to sleep when you really, really want to sleep, right? Like when you're a kid and Christmas is the next day and you're like, I really want to go to sleep because if I go to sleep right now, I'm going to wake up and it's going to be Christmas morning. And then you're sitting there like, but that's exactly what's making me not sleep. It's kind of like that in a lot of ways. When you're thinking about the game you want to play next at the last minute. Um, Thankfully, right now, Among Us sort of fits as a buffer for a lot of us. Especially myself, like I've been well, and right now it's hard because I don't mind playing Among Us right now, but I really want to be playing Hades and I really want to be playing Spelunky too. But I keep getting invites for Among Us, and I'm like, well, I'm definitely gonna go do that. That sounds like a great time. So then I keep putting off like going to play Hades more, and I'm like, okay. I gotta say no one of these times. I just gotta say no. Um, but that's exactly part of that. It's like you have to sort of pick and choose what's going on here. I'm just attacking everybody today. That's just what I do. If you've never been to a dance stream of thought, I just attack everybody. I throw a punch and I just close my eyes. Ah! Ah! Also, I punched like this for some reason. I don't worry about that part. But I close my eyes and I just throw a punch. Doesn't matter who it's at. It could be like my best friend. It just happens. Um, but the point I'm trying to make is when you have the plan for what you're gonna do next, it will it's such a little thing, but you see such a difference in both how the community sees your confidence, how the community sees and they're not throwing a curveball, which is a big part of community streaming, or sorry, not community streaming, variety streaming, is it's very easy to just confuse your audience. Part of the conversation we were having last night, because I was sort of having this on stream, I had a couple people come in and was like, yeah, there's one person specifically that I follow. They're kind of new to Twitch. They don't follow too many people, but it's like one person I specifically follow on Twitch, that plays a game I really like, and then plays another game that like I don't really like too much, but I like watching him play. And then he plays this weird fighting game that I have no idea what's going on. And I want to stick around and support, and I want to be able to say, "Hey, this is awesome." But like you watch all his viewership go away, and then he gets mad about the fact that nobody wants to see this certain thing, but he really likes it, and then that's when I sort of started to say, well, maybe you got to play some games for yourself and not really worry about streaming them. Um, but uh, but that was the epitome of I just got thrown a curveball. I don't really care too much about what the person is streaming, even though everybody cares a little bit. We have to, as streamers, you have to understand that when somebody says, "I don't care what you stream, I'm just here for you," they do mean that, but they also kind of care about what you stream. It's inevitable. It's like impossible not to have that. Um, so you do have to sort of think about what kind of curveballs you're throwing at everybody. Because I still do that sometimes. I still throw curveballs like crazy. Um, I'll play. I was playing like when Apex first came out. I played Apex for like a day, and then all of a sudden I switched to Factorio, and then people are like, "What? What? What? Who? What is this? I don't." What is this brown game? What is this brown game with tiny brown pixels and all these brown trees and brown bugs and what is this brown? There's so much brown everywhere. I don't understand. Why is this game not colorful? This isn't shooty shoots. This isn't all, and it's like as a variety streamer, you should definitely feel okay being able to switch from one game to another like that because you don't want to get stuck into that whole I play BRs I guess now because it's only it's popular. But you have to be careful in how you do it, and sometimes you have to make a small, slow transition. Sometimes you have to do a couple days at a time. Sometimes you have to wean people off of things, and you have to sort of accept that there are people that are not going to like the next game you come into, and that's going to be okay. Variety streaming is, as we said at the beginning of the stream, it's going to be the harder way to grow, but it's going to be I think, in my opinion, personally, it's going to be the way that is going to keep your content around longer and relevant longer and popular longer. Because now I can start to explain why I brought up Isaac streamers earlier. So there's a handful of Isaac streamers that streamed and started off with The Binding of Isaac, specifically Northern Lion and Cobalt Streak and Sinvicta and Laffy Taffy and all like there's a handful of people that are just like I play Isaac and they built this amazing, beautiful, huge community off of it. But now, and a lot of people have turned into variety and gone off in a direction that's helped them continue to grow. But specifically, you look at people like I named Northern Lions and Savicta um, particularly because while all of them still play Isaac, Northern Lion does a YouTube episode a day, right on Isaac. So does Invicta, but they hardly ever stream it. They hardly ever focus on it anymore. They still understand that that's their community and they still want to continue to make them happy and give them what they want, but they slowly turned it into it helps that they're amazingly funny human beings, but they turned it into I have this community, let's start to move into things that are similar but different. Similar but different. And then they grew this bubble. And now Northern Lion is just this giant massive thing that blocks the sun, giant egghead that blocks the sun and just like, hey, I am here. This is who I am. I love Ryan. And this is what I do. And he turned it into something that's so much bigger. And that is the direction of going from non-variety to variety. There is no right answer to this. This is sort of why this is all over the place. There's no right answer to this, but these are all these things that you can sort of pull from and say, hey, this is what we have to do to create this variety element and world that says, hey, let's make everybody happy while understanding that some are not going to be happy. See, I'm making peace with it, but then people come into chat here with don't want to watch this spy, so it's hard to get told that. Yeah, I mean that's gonna happen no matter what, you know. Even people who stream one game, um, even people who stream one singular game, they're still gonna get comments like that. If you're watching a League of Legends streamer and they decide to just change a character for a day, like I didn't come in here to watch this character. I would start naming them for comedic value, but I don't know anybody in League of Legends, so I didn't come in here to start watching this character. I'm out of here. Bye. Or even if they're playing the same character that they always play, maybe they're doing it differently, or maybe they're just not playing as well today. Maybe they're just having a rough time playing today, and then they start to turn into, well, you suck today. I'm out. It, those are just people that don't understand how to be in social situations and make people comfortable around them. That's just gonna happen. That's just humanity. It has nothing to do with the content you're creating. I promise. And the more you start to accept that, the more you'll be like, yeah, I can shrug this off. It's a big problem. I'd be prepping myself for them comments, but it's still like, ouch. I get that. I totally understand that. It is definitely tough, but I don't know. I've learned to ignore it, and I'm not saying that that's easy, but sometimes it gets to a point where people just suck, and you just gotta say, "Hey, you suck. I'm out. Bye." And sometimes you gotta say that to them too. "You're out. Well, I'm out too. I'm not listening to this anymore." And you know, it's not easy. It's not easy. But I've sort of lost faith in the fact that people wanna be polite to each other a long time ago, so I guess that's part of that. Call me jaded. Make content out of things that people I kind of fight against that, making content out of people that are being silly and stuff like that. I don't think that, you know, it's wrong. Obviously, if you wanna do it, you definitely wanna do it. Personally, people like that want attention, and, you know, if you're a variety streamer, this could be part of your variety. So we're talking about today. If 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 you wanna do that and you wanna see, like, this content come out, great, do it all you want. But how I see it is these people like that want attention, right? So by making content out of them and saying, "Hey, this is what this is," that just becomes I don't know, it kinda gives them what they want. Kinda gives the people that want attention more attention. And if you wanna give them negative attention, which is a lot of people's, philosophy on how to sort of kill that want to be rude. So that's possible that's a treatment. I wouldn't know. It's not my expertise. Um, that turns into a world of uh, a decision you just have to make, and that's totally fine. This is just my take on it. But yeah, I just try to ignore it. Like I know sometimes it's hard, and sometimes you have to sit there and maybe take a break. Sometimes I've taken like 2 to 3 minute breaks just to walk around the house a little bit, grab a nice smoothie from my brand new blender that I purchased and made an adult purchase of. You know, you're an adult when you are excited about purchasing a blender so that you can throw strawberries and bananas and creatine and protein and lemonade and orange juice in it and blend it all up and make nice a nice smoothie. It's dude, we've been making so many smoothies, man. I've been inhaling so much sugar from all these fruits, but they're so delicious. They're so delicious. Yeah, that's my adult purchase. It's been so good. I hope that the overall maturity of the social viewer will grow so that they realize that the streamer isn't there for them individually, but since so many seek certain attention, the response from their actions. Um, I would like to hope that too. I think that's just humanity. I think that there are just gonna be people that see it differently. And sometimes there's people that just don't see certain things, right? Because you know, this person that may come in and say, "Hey, this is boring. I'm gonna get out of here. See you later." Maybe they don't see that as rude, right? Maybe they're seeing that as somebody in their life taught them that just being honest and telling somebody how they feel so that hopefully it makes them grow and feel better. Maybe they were told that that's what the right thing to do is. Who are we to say that that's wrong? And now this is where everybody says, "Well, that's super rude." Well, is it? Is it rude to say that? I would say that by definition it is because the majority of people feel that way. But how do we feel about cultures that, you know, that don't like when you stick your tongue out? When we here in the West, we stick our tongue out of silliness all the time, or maybe there's that emote of the happy face sticking the tongue out. Well, there's so many people like, especially like my people in Hawaii, and a lot of Polynesian cultures that sticking your tongue out is basically saying that you are nothing and you are I spit at you and you deserve nothing. You deserve none of my words, but you just deserve my dirty tongue, you know? And like it's very much seen as rude. That's different cultures and stuff like that. But like that's the more and more like I start to think about it that way and start to think about what it is to worry more about your community, which is the next segment we're getting into. To worry more about your community, you sort of just accept certain things and you sort of just let them go. There's been one specific person that's in a lot of communities that has been a problem. And for some reason just hasn't really gone away to find another community that maybe they fit in with, but they seem to find positive communities because and there's a reason for this. I'm gonna talk about this specifically. There's a reason for I think this person seeks out positive communities, but is just constantly negative in those communities. One little hint of something came out when I was asking this person why they were doing something because they were just they're just constantly rude. I'm not gonna call them out because there's a reason for that. There's a reason, and I have this feeling, even though they've never come to my channel ever after we talked about this again. There's a reason that they seek out these positive communities. I asked them one time, "Hey, why do you just feel the need to be rude? Like, why do you feel the need to just be mean to people?" Because they were making, like they weren't, like, making any racial or sexual comments or anything. They were just straight up being aggressive and abrasive. And I was like, "Hey, why?" And then they came out and said, "'Cause I have no friends." And, it's very easy to sit there and say, "Well, maybe that's why you have no friends." Instead of understanding that especially violence and aggression comes out to a cyclical poison to where I have no friends, which means I'm mean to people that would be my friends, which causes me to have no more friends, which causes me to be mean to people that would be my friends, and then it's just this cycle over and over again. And I think that's the reason why they seek out positive streams and positive communities because they want that positivity in their life because they never had it, right? They've never had those things like that. I think there's a lot of that happens with trolls. Now, I'm not here to be a troll sympathizer. I don't ever wanna feed the trolls or anything, but there are a handful. I would say that there's more trolls than or more a bigger percentage of trolls than you think out there who just need a friend and just need somebody to listen to their pains and listen to the things that they're saying and just have them be heard, you know? And sometimes sometimes they're just kids, and sometimes they're just taught that being mean is funny, and sometimes you just gotta tell them, "Hey, man, I know you're probably not 13. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna tell the cops. I'm not gonna tell anybody at Twitch that you're not 13 years of age or older, but you gotta be 13 to be on the channel or to be on Twitch. So I suggest maybe either wait a little bit, go play some video games, or just chillax." And sometimes you just gotta be, just gotta just talk to them for a second. Just like be there. You don't have to be the therapist. You don't be the therapist, actually. Do not do that because you're nobody on Twitch, even a licensed therapist, should be giving therapy on Twitch. Um, I'm serious about that. You'll see lawyers all the time. Lawyers they're on streams all the time. They do not give legal advice. So I don't know why therapists feel like they should be giving therapy advice on Twitch. So it's like weird dynamic. It's a weird dynamic. Um, but the biggest thing is like, hey, just sit there and listen for a little bit. Anyway, we'll stop talking about that part. What was the part I was going to get to next? I think I was going to talk about crap. I forget. Hold on. Let's check into. I hope we talked about that. I bought a blender because I was eating too many meat snacks. I need to not get scurvy. I think with modern diets, it's like nearly impossible to get scurvy. Although I think there are cases of it semi regularly, which is terrifying. You need to have like a sip of orange juice to not get scurvy, I think. But yes, I totally feel that. I was having like beef jerky and salami and all kinds of things, and I was just feeling gross. And I was getting my gains on, but I was like, there's got to be other ways to get my gains on. Um, so I started going to like one vegan meal, or no, sorry, not meal, but one vegan day a week, and sometimes not fully vegan but vegetarian, and sticking around just saying, "Hey, this is cool. One time a week, I could save the planet. I could maybe understand a little bit more about um, how different because I've cooked with meat my entire life. So I'm like, okay, how can I get better different cooking materials? How can I understand how different things work? Also, you save so much time cooking not meat products. Oh my god. It's like half the time to cook, like, the easiest stuff. Yeah, it's a deficiency of vitamin C, which is why pirates had, barrels of lemons, on uh barrels of lemons on the ship. So like after a while, even though they got like tainted all the time, so that they would just bite into a lemon and hopefully not get scurvy. Does it play on words? No. I mean, I think there's like pirate jokes that play on the word scurvy a lot, so that would make sense. I was gonna get to something and I totally lost it. I had a point. Where's my mouse? There it is. There's gotta be something in chat that I was talking about. The shooting games? No, no, no. Making peace. Oh, we were talking about trolls, right? And then I moved into something else. I was gonna do something. Anyway, um, we talked about different. I was gonna go back to different channels and stuff, and making different channels, but I think that could be held to a different stream, considering that is such a more complicated topic. Because I don't even know if I fully understand it yet. Um, I think I think logically I understand it. I think theoretically I understand that creating a new channel for a specific topic makes a lot of sense. Like, I'm not gonna put any of my fitness content that whenever this pandemic stops and people start to, heal themselves, um, we'll be creating. I was meant to do this like 6 months ago. But essentially, whenever I start to do that, it's gonna be on a completely new channel. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be a specific YouTube channel. I don't know if I'll stream it on my own channel, maybe, but I doubt it because I think that's maybe another the same decision I have to make, which is do I want to create a new channel that's specifically for fitness and be able to do that and just only that, and then that way that if people want to see gaming, they can go to the gaming channel. I don't know. It's that's such a complicated topic, but it is such an important thing to think about because what I've spent my entire life, or my not my entire life, my entire career as a content creator doing is constantly kind of finding new games that I like. I'm like a variety person. I'm a variety gamer, not just a variety streamer, but I'm a variety gamer. I play everything. I'll play mobile gotcha games. I'll play puzzle games, although I've kind of grown out of puzzle games and RTSs, but I still play them. RTSs, I'll play shooters, I'll play hardcore shooters, I'll play arcade shooters, I'll play simulators, I will play um, resource management simulators. I'll play legitimately everything. I've played a MOBA here and there. Um, play legitimately everything. But that's been my biggest struggle. That's my biggest struggle because even though I'm a variety gamer, that doesn't mean my content should be so sporadic like that. Your content is not just for you. And I think there's a lot of people, I think I'm getting back to where I was. I think there's a lot of people that forget about who is already watching them. And so what they do is they say, hey, this is a popular thing. I should jump onto this without thinking how far away from that is what I'm doing already. And that's a huge thing I think a lot of people forget about because what people will see is stagnation when they do something that they find to be semi-popular. Like if you're a person that plays battle royales for a while and then you go off and play I don't know, anything that's not battle royale, but honestly, anything that is not even a shooter. Let's say you're a battle royale player and you go off to play I can't say Fall Guys because that kind of fits in that category, but maybe you I don't know, do something that's different. I don't know why I can't come up with an example right now, but you do something that's different. Um, so different to the point at which you see your numbers maybe go down by like 5%. Nothing huge, but you're like, okay, I expected that. I expected to go down a little bit. That's fine. And you start to like become maybe a little bit more comfortable in understanding like, hey, this is okay. This is what I expected. This is okay. Hopefully we can grow after this. And if it doesn't grow, you're like, oh, it's just a failed experiment. When really, in reality, what I did was I thought that way. And then in reality, it was actually worse than that. It actually became a lot worse. So overall, my total percentage dropped, but individually, I also replaced like 20% of that viewership. So in reality, it was like a 25% drop. So I went from one category to another, not even close to the same, just very different. Went from one category to another, and I saw that 5% decrease. What really happened was I lost 25% of my previous audience and gained 20% of a new audience, my total of 20% of a new audience. So I replaced them. So what did that do? I mean, eventually that that got rid of so much of I betrayed loyalty almost in a certain way. I'm not This is not meant to get into an existential crisis or anything, but you have to think about certain things like this when you make certain decisions so that you don't throw people again for those curveballs. You should have the freedom to be able to switch from thing to thing to thing to thing. But one thing that I didn't do, or one method that I could have taken that maybe would have eased that loss a little bit better, or maybe would have had a little bit less of a loss, is been able to prepare my audience for that. Hey guys, and there's a lot of things that happen, right? We'll talk about this in a second, but there's so many things that happen that are not just one thing's not going to fix it. But hey guys, we're going to be playing this game next. We still got like another week or so playing this game, so if you enjoy this, stick around for another week, and maybe you'll come with us to join this other thing. But we're gonna play playing this next thing, in a week or two, and maybe that prepares people. Maybe that makes some people leave, but more than likely, it's just gonna prepare people. People are still gonna stick around if they know you're gonna play for another week, right? They People don't think 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance. Um, but you're saying, hey, we're gonna go play this next week, so stick around. If you like it, great. If you don't, well, then hopefully we'll see you again for another game that week. Maybe when we come back to this game. Um, Now going back to talking about what can still be a problem is, um, if there's a couple things that happen when you say something like that. One, you start to give confidence to from your channel to your community, saying, "Hey, I know what we're doing. Don't worry. I have you all in good hands. We know what's happening. I'm not going to throw something sporadic at you. I'm not going to throw a curveball. I'm not going to make you feel uncomfortable. I'm going to try to make you feel comfortable with the fact that we know what we're doing here, then, there, whatever." That's sort of I would argue actually one of the biggest focuses variety streamers should have. A variety streamer, when we say this, we think about the games that people play. But in reality, and I think a lot of you already know this, it's about the streamer, right? What is the streamer other than their community? That's all one, right? It's all one thing. It's all one symbiotic being, kind of. And that comes with that communication. And Tamarek said it many times in the past. Like, communication is key with your community. It's such an important factor to to continuing content with your community. Like, it's great to grow overnight and have hundreds and hundreds of more viewers over in just a single night. But you know what's better? I mean, you know what's also really good? You know what's also just amazing and just a great feeling is having people that keep coming to your channel over and over and over again and continuously enjoy themselves over and over and over again. People who have, you know, 84-month subscriptions, and for me, like, 40s, and we're in the 40s for our subscriptions, and I'm like, "Dude, that's so awesome," And sometimes you can argue it's sunken cost fallacy, and I wanna be able to stick around, stuff like that, but I guarantee most people don't think that way, especially when it comes to, like, subscribing and watching somebody for so long. There's a lot of people who are just like, "I have always enjoyed what you do, and I still enjoy what you do," and that to me is far more important than just constantly gathering new people, because if you can continue to keep the people that are there already happy, you are rolling a you're flipping a coin really on whether, actually, sorry, I did that analogy incorrect. You're rolling a d20 versus flipping a coin and whether or not they're going to leave. You have way more chances, a d20 with modifiers. You have way more chances to not really like annoy them or piss them off, or um, bore them or anything. Whereas, like, if you get a new, you get so one loyal viewer that's been there for a while, you're rolling that D20 with modifiers. 5 new people, you're flipping a coin. That's a 50-50 shot on whether they're just gonna leave in, like, 2 minutes. Why would you take that chance? Just mathematically, why would you take that chance? And most people will say, "Well, because, like, if I flip the coin and I get heads with all 5 of those, then I got 5 more people than or 4 more people than I would have had before." And it's like, why? That is the gambler's fallacy. It's an illogical argument. This is a problem with variety streamers that I see constantly, and this is all we were talking about before it led up into this point. I don't know why I forgot it. Um, there's too many people that just stop thinking or take for granted the people that already are enjoying their content. And I think that we see this a lot when people rebrand. Um, not to say at all that rebranding is bad. That rebranding is often it's often a good thing sometimes, but remember that rebranding is a different definition here than it is outside of Dan's stream of thought. We also understand that. But let's talk about this and that thought of outside Dan's stream of thought, which is like changing your name or changing your look or changing your motif or whatever it might be. Um, Rebranding can sometimes just kind of throw people off, and you have to be careful with that. And think about the people that are already there, and it's like, but don't be afraid. Don't hold it hostage. And if you have a good community, they won't hold you hostage to it. Even though I- I'm terrified of shaving my mustache. I don't want to, thankfully, but I'm terrified of it. So I do kind of feel hostage there, but it's just one of those things where you're like, yeah, let's start to understand who is already here. Now, how do we do that? Might try it. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by my squeaky chair. How do we do that? How do we focus on the people that are already there? And this comes with having a plan. Going back to having a plan. What show or what game do you want to play next? And is that game something that is an easy transition? And it doesn't have to be, but is it an easy transition? Can you just go to it and have people be like, "Oh yeah, this is cool too." Or is it a hard transition and you have to start to prepare your audience for it a little bit? Hey, it's saying it constantly on stream. Hey, I know you guys like this game. This game is awesome. I love this game. I don't like when we change games, it has nothing to do with the fact that I don't like it anymore. But there's another game that I really want to play. It's very different. It's not like this at all. But I think that if you enjoy me playing this, I think you're going to enjoy me playing that just as much because it's still going to be me. Sometimes you have to say these things out loud because people don't just inherently just think about them. They're not always thinking about them. They watch 100 different streamers on Twitch or 100 different YouTubers or whatever it might be, and they see constantly when somebody switches a game, they sort of change a little bit. So if you feel like you're going to change a little bit, or maybe you're going to not change at all, you need to be forward with that. And you need to reassure your audience. Remember, your audience they're not full of robots. They're humans. There's a bunch of humans out there that have feelings, and they have they're a little bit uneasy about change. They are uneasy about the fact that there might be something that goes different, and I might not be seeing the same thing that I've just grown accustomed to and grown comfortable with. I don't want to see that change. I'm afraid of it. I don't want to do that. It's human to do these things. Like you feel them all the time, so put a little bit of empathy in it and understand that they maybe feel that way too. So you not saying you have to be the mom or dad of the stream or whatever, but you sort of have to like comfort them a little bit, saying, "Hey, this is just what's happening. Like, let's ease you through it. I know you like this. This is great. This isn't going to be much different, just a little different, not much different, and this is why." And getting people to like sort of ease into why you're going to change to that game. What's the reason for it? Is there going to be much different about it? All kinds of things. Hey, we're going to be playing Flight Simulator tomorrow. You guys have been watching me play Hades for a couple days. What's the difference? They're very, very different games. But here's the thing: what do I do in Hades? I just stop and talk to you all for a second. What am I gonna do and Microsoft Flight Sim. Well, after we take off or before we land or whatever it might be, I can sit and talk to you for a little bit. It's going to be the same thing, but just a slightly different thing in the background. And sometimes you have to be that guiding light for your audience, because their audience, they're along for the ride. They're not driving it at all. They're not in the driver's seat. You're in the driver's seat. And if you've ever been on a plane with a little bit of turbulence, it's nerve-wracking. As somebody who has flown millions of times, I've flown myself, I've been in the cockpit and flown myself. I still get nervous when I feel turbulence. I still get nervous when certain things happen. Why? Because I'm not the one flying, and I don't know the pilot. So as somebody who's been watching Twitch for such a long time, even they will get nervous when you get to a point where you change games, when you change to a different category. So it's up to you, and it's up to a good captain to sit there and say, "Hey, guys, this is totally normal. Like, everything's gonna be perfectly okay. Here's why." And they start to explain and give you like actual explanations as to what's happening. You don't hear that from captains anymore, because they probably tell captains not to say that, because they know that there's human beings out there that it doesn't matter what you tell them, you're still gonna make them nervous. But Twitch is different. You don't have people's lives in your hand, right? You just have their entertainment. You can be honest with them. You can be honest with people here and not fear getting sued, or not fear freaking people out, or putting people in mental danger and stuff like that. You can be honest with them and say, "Hey, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. I hope you're ready. If you're not, I fully understand what's happening." And then I constantly say that, and if you have a mod team, and I think they've talked about this on Behind the Stream several times. If you have a mod team, this is what I do. I say, "Hey, I know you probably don't want to like depress me, or you don't want to make me sad or make me feel bad or whatever it might be. If you want to just DM one of my mods or my community manager and just say, 'Hey, I'm uncomfortable with them switching to this game. I really don't like it. I really want to keep watching Dan, but he's switching to this, and I just really don't want to watch it.'" Or maybe you just have any note whatsoever and you send it to the third party that is not the streamer, or not there's not direct contact, which is causes like anxiety and fear of letting somebody down. Like, trust me, the amount of times that I've felt just shakingly nervous around people that I'm just like, I know we've known each other for a while, but I don't wanna disappoint you. 'Cause Ashley Birch, I've met her many times, and it comes down to I get nervous around her every time, because I'm just like, she's amazing and she's awesome, and I don't want her to like just I don't we don't get to see each other for very often or very long for a long time, but it gets to a point where just like I don't want these short moments together to just piss her off, and then all of a sudden that's all she remembers, and I'm like, and then it's like that's hubristic, but it's still fear. It's well, it's not it's still ridiculous fear. It's still a fear. So be a little empathetic when it comes to stuff like that, and just hey, go talk to my mods. You don't have to talk to me. You don't talk to me. I'm not like this big bad movie star or whatever, but it's still nerve wracking to talk to somebody that you watch on Twitch. They don't talk to me. Just go hit up a mod. Just go. Just like they won't. And I constantly tell them, my mods. I specifically tell them that do not tell me who told you that. Do not tell me who gave you this note. Keep it extremely anonymous, 100%. That way, like, I don't have like some micro something that comes out, because like this will happen too. I think a lot of people do this, especially people who are constantly nervous about making people upset with them and stuff like that. They constantly overcorrect for things. So if somebody tells me, it's like, "Hey man, you kind of disappointed me the other day," like maybe they came to me in private and confidence and stuff like that, it's like, "Hey, you kind of disappointed me the other day with what you said, and I didn't like it." And it's perfectly fair, 100% a great thing, a mature thing to do. So the next day, I see them in chat, and maybe I'm extra nice to them. And it's like, they didn't ask for that. They didn't ask for you to be extra nice to them. All they wanted is just your normal self. And maybe I was in a bad mood yesterday, so I like overcorrected. And then that makes them feel awkward for that, and then they never come to you again. It's like, so yeah, if giving your mods like the they're being the middle people to keep the viewers anonymous, to giving you real honest, earnest feedback is such an important part to something like this. But that goes for everything. That has nothing to do with variety streaming. But the reason I bring it up for variety streaming is because sometimes it just has to be about the game. Maybe it has nothing to do with the streamer's attitude. Maybe it's just about the game they're switching to. It's like, I don't really like that game. I think everybody's thinking about this game. And I don't think Dan should play it. I think it's a bad idea. I don't wanna watch it anymore. It's all over Twitch, and I don't know. I wouldn't show up. I'm sorry. I wouldn't be able to show up if he starts to play this game. And he tells that if he or her tells that to a mod and they tell it to me, I will be it might even bring up something I didn't even think about. It's like, "Oh, yeah, it's gonna be super popular. Cyberpunk 2077 is gonna be super popular. I didn't think about that." That'd be very stupid of me. Um, because God, that's a whole we can have a whole conversation about, is it a good idea to stream Cyberpunk's 2077? Oh, Jesus, that's a variety streamer's nightmare right there. I couldn't answer that for you. I have no idea. I have no idea. I think I have, like, some maybe a little bit of front page promotion, so there's, like, a possibility that I might stream it, but I don't know. That's such a weird topic. Are you gonna play a game that everybody wants to play and see? Just saying that right there, yes, you should do that. But are you gonna play a game that everybody also wants to stream and compete against you with? No, I shouldn't do that. It's such a tough decision. That's a whole topic. We can have a whole hour and a half conversation about that, but I don't know. Wait 1 week? I think 1 week is a good yeah, I think I'm probably gonna wait 1 week as well. 1 week is a good window there. What's up, Belnex? How are you? Yeah, it's definitely tough because everybody, and I mean everybody, is going to play it and is going to stream it. And so even past that, even past like that 1 week, there's gonna be a couple things. One, you have to think about to yourself, and this is another variety subject. This is another variety subject. Can a game have too much hype? Can a anything have too much hype to where you shouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole? I personally think the answer is yes. I personally think the answer is yes. Sometimes right now in Among Us, it's coming up very soon. That bubble is going to burst very soon. I think we're going to get to a point where it's the hype is so big, although it's not like it's not that big. It's more relatively big. Um, to the point at which it is so big that nobody will be happy with a single stream about it. And I have a fear with this for Cyberpunk. I think it's gonna possibly get to a point where it's already there. I mean, it's got the perfect set of cards. It's got I mean, CD Projekt Red, they just did a whole big Witcher finisher. They're gonna do more Witcher stuff in Netflix, like Cyberpunk, and they've been doing excellent, showcases, and it's just the hype is so ginormous that there's gonna be so many viewers that have their hype so large, their hype is just so swollen, like it's a gland in your stomach, that their hype is just so swollen that nobody will make them happy. Not a single stream will make them happy. And I think that's what the reviews are gonna be like, at least the user reviews, not the actual critic reviews, but the user reviews are gonna be that way too. I think there's gonna be a lot of people that have so much excitement for it that even if the game is perfect, well, generally perfect, people will still be upset with it, and people will still be sad about it, and I have a true fear that that's gonna happen. It's with, a lot of things. A lot of things that just things are just too popular. And you have to understand that as a variety streamer, no matter how big you are, if something just is too much, sometimes you have to accept that it doesn't matter how good you did that day or how well you broadcasted or how on point you were. Sometimes there's just going to be people that were not going to be satisfied no matter with what you did. No matter with what you did. Are we good, chat? Do we have any questions? I think that we covered a lot of things. Hopefully, we put you in a mindset that helps you think about what you're doing and to help you be present, because that was the goal with talking about success in variety streaming is to be present and in the moment. With having, that being present still means having a plan, but being present, thinking about the people who are already watching you, thinking about the people who will watch you and how they might mesh with the people already watching you, thinking about what you're gonna do when the current thing you're doing is finished and just the loop is completed, right? Um, Thinking about possibly uh, splitting attention and being able to do whatever you want, but having a simple split so that there are people who wanna watch one thing and can watch one thing and not be distracted by the other, right? So, if you I think Glam talked about this earlier. Um, if you wanna be a if you wanna play a ton of shooters, but you also wanna play a ton of chill games, think about making 2 channels, if you have the time. If you don't have the time, don't do it. It's too much. But if you have the time, think about making 2 channels. I think the odds of you growing both channels separately in 2 different kinds of categories is much higher than trying to grow one channel while splitting your attention there. But in the same breath, if you're gonna do one channel, maybe stream the thing that makes the most sense to stream there, and maybe play the other thing on your off time. Find some off time to play games. I'm telling you right now, I just finished God of War off stream. Why? Because, well, I mean, I played, like, some of it on stream and stuff like that. People didn't want spoilers. People who came in late didn't understand the beginning of the story, stuff like that. I just like, "Alright, I'll just play it on my own. We got tons of other stuff to stream, let's do that." I played it on my own, it was great. I finished it, it was fantastic. I can't wait for Ragnarok. I can't wait for it. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things. So don't push yourself don't spread yourself too thin, but think about being able to create a way so that you can have audiences that are always happy, or at least the maximum amount of happy they possibly can. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And then going back to like sort of the same thought process that Tamara just put in the chat, which is if if something is starting to quote unquote die and you're a smaller channel, maybe you're still enjoying that thing that is quote unquote dying, maybe stick around with it for a little bit. Maybe keep pushing through, because maybe you'll have some, this is what we talked about at the beginning of the stream, maybe you'll have some residual effects from the fact that people still want to watch that gamer category and all their favorite streamers are done playing it. I've literally watched that happen in my stream several times. I've stuck with the game than longer than the rest of Twitch did, and it helped a bit. Yeah. I mean, look at games like Farming Simulator. That was a big part of it. Farming Simulator had a big hype when it launched, like for 2 weeks, and then I played for like 4 months, and it was awesome. So think about that. Think about stuff like that. All right, guys. I'm already losing my voice because I streamed like 8 days in a row. So this is like my only stream today. But I love you guys. This was this is a topic that is, I think, the closest to my heart when it comes to my career. There's a lot to talk about here, but I think you guys caught on. I think you guys were pretty receptive to what we talked about. As we talk about is with every episode, everything has a theme, and that theme is professionalism, and that theme is being able to put a mind exercise to how you do your content and your career. I'm never going to tell you how to do it. I'm never even going to give you advice on really how to do it. I'm really just I'm trying to help you put yourself into a mindset where you can help you and give yourself advice for these things. You can think about these things and make it up for yourself. I'm just here to be like that meditation guide. The meditation guide is not gonna tell you what to think while you're meditating. They're just gonna help you get there. They're just gonna help you figure out what to think. You're gonna do your best. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you. It's just Dan, I think. I think it's just Dan. Um, Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. Remember to stay positive, play more games, and read more comics. This has been Dan's Stream of Thought, and I've been Dan. And I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Left one behind.